You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. As always, we got a lot to cover. The amount of news that's breaking every day right now, I know we're getting kind of spoiled, but this is not typical, okay? Summertime is usually a slow news time. Every day over the summer has just been busy. Now, I know a lot of you guys know we're in Florida. We had a big, massive hurricane hit Florida today, but not the part of Florida that we are in. We are in South Florida, and the hurricane hit up in North Florida, up around the Panhandle area. So we were not affected by the hurricane at all. But for those that were, oh my goodness, this was a very, very bad one. But I want to get into the issues. You know, there's so much in the news involving racial division, and it's really sad. I mean, we have in this country, we really have moved beyond that, and liberals keep doing things to bring us back into these racial divisions.
They want to keep it going.
Yeah, well,
they want to keep it going. They don't want it to improve.
And NASCAR has done something that's insane with their diversity people, which I want to talk about here. And, you know, I remember years ago, NASCAR, when the Democrat Party was run by Terry McAuliffe, who was later went on to be the governor of Virginia, but before all that, he was the head of the DNC when Bill Clinton was president. So this goes way back. The part I'm going to tell you goes back to the Clinton era of the Democrat Party, but there's a story going on right now with NASCAR and the Democrats that we'll get to, but I just want to give you some background to show you how things have changed. So Terry McAuliffe, when he was running the Democrat Party, the DNC, he got it in his head that they should go and do voter registration and recruitment for the Democrats at NASCAR races. So the Democrat Party went to the NASCAR races and they got run off by the fans. They're like, get out of here. We're Republicans. And the Democrats, because they stereotype everybody, they have very low opinions of people that don't live in the Hamptons or these big cities. They, for some reason, got in their mind that people that were into NASCAR are, you know, low-class people, low-educated people, poor people, married to their cousins and all this stuff, and were perfect to recruit for the Democrats. And they got
like when the colonists came over here and wanted to recruit the Indians into Christianity.
I guess so. Except
that's what they hate us. That's what they hate the colonists for. Aren't they doing the same damn thing?
Maybe. So the NASCAR fans were angry, and when I say ran them off, they did. They chased off the Democrats from NASCAR. And that was the end of that. And then Bubba Wallace came around with his fake news story. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember that? And now they got diversity people running NASCAR. So here we are today. Listen,
it's almost as if that was done on purpose.
Yeah, listen to this. NASCAR offers a paid diversity internship that excludes white people from applying on the basis of their race. This is a stipulation a constitutional lawyer has said is illegal. However, NASCAR is still doing it. The Race Car Giants Diversity Internship Program states that there are racial requirements that applicants must meet in order to be accepted. The first bullet point listed under the heading Program Requirements reads, be a member of one or more of the following races/ethnic minority classifications: Black or African American, American Indian or Alaskan Native, Asian, Latino or Hispanic, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander. David Bernstein, a professor at George Mason University's Scalia School of Law, told the Daily Wire that NASCAR's racially discriminatory program is blatantly illegal.
Absolutely.
Noting that it would seem to violate the Title VII and the 1866 Civil Rights Act, which was passed after the Civil War.
Thank goodness.
Having a 100% quota for minorities for a position is illegal, even under a very generous view of what is allowed, Bernstein said, adding that a potential applicant who was unable to apply on the basis of his or her race would have legal standing to sue. NASCAR's diversity internship program appears to be part of a broader company campaign called Drive for Diversity.
I just saw a commercial for this with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh, my goodness.
And he was driving around with some black girl. I just saw a commercial for this yesterday.
Driving for Diversity?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I had the volume down, but I saw him driving around. It was some program.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm thinking, what's this about? Well, that must be it. They're trying to recruit more, I guess they're thinking minorities into NASCAR.
Yeah. The Pit Crew Development Program is described as a comprehensive training program for aspiring minority and female pit crew members. There's also the Driver Development Program.
Yeah, that's what this is for.
Which provides top minority and female drivers with coaching, mentorship, and development. Because, of course, all of us white people that are interested in cars, we just automatically have professional NASCAR drivers that train us to drive NASCAR if we so choose a profession. Both programs stipulate that applicants are only eligible for programs if they are female or a member of one or more ethnic minority classifications, which include American Indian, Asian or Pacific Islander, African American, and Latino or Hispanic.
So they're discriminating against men and white people.
Mm-hmm. Despite
minority women only.
Okay. Despite implementing racial requirements for program applicants,
excuse me,
NASCAR's job posting state that the company is an equal opportunity employer. We seek to attract and retain the best qualified people available, it reads, before going on to say all qualified applicants will receive consideration for employment regardless of race, and unless they're white, I guess. NASCAR has faced criticism in recent years for going woke. Last year, apologized for having Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott appear at one of its races. I don't know why that is something to apologize for. Texas loves NASCAR. And just this month, NASCAR suspended a driver indefinitely for liking a meme on Instagram involving George Floyd. Some fans reacted to this suspension by calling for a Bud Light style boycott of NASCAR. Okay, and they give a list of other companies that have certain things. This is the thing about diversity programs and diversity hires. Diversity doesn't mean everybody but white people. Okay?
It does now, I guess.
Diversity means all people of all colors and all backgrounds and all ethnicities and all genders.
Not anymore.
And all two genders, both genders, and everything else. It doesn't mean everyone but white people. And that is, we've always had these diversity issues with the left. They used to just discriminate against conservatives, so their diversity never applied to intellectual diversity. And now they're out of the closet, openly segregating and saying white people need not apply. And they don't even hear themselves. And they feel as if because of things that happened before any of us were born, even many of our parents were born, that it's okay to discriminate against white people for things that happened hundreds of years ago. And I'll tell you, this is illegal. People that go to NASCAR should stop. They should do a Bud Light-like boycott.
And I, like I said, I don't like boycotts, but because it can affect people's jobs.
Yeah.
But this is blatant discrimination.
Oh, yes.
This is worse to me than the Dylan Mulvaney thing.
Oh, yes.
Because this is absolute discrimination.
No doubt.
And you have to boycott companies that are practicing this. This is not, Dylan was not good. They hired the wrong guy for their campaign. And I agree with that boycott. But this is something that really needs to be boycotted because they're keeping people out. Now, what if they had a program for girls only that included all girls, including white girls? Would you be cooler with that?
No. You shouldn't. No. And, this is NASCAR. I'm not a big fan of NASCAR. It's kind of boring to me watching cars going around in a circle.
I'm not into it at all.
Although about 10 or so years ago, for my birthday, my mother got me one of those things where you get to drive a real NASCAR car on a track, and it was the Richard Petty experience, and it was at the Homestead Raceway here in South Florida, down in Miami, and I did that, and that was the most frightening thing I've ever done in my life. It's a real NASCAR car. You're in the car by yourself. There are professional drivers on the track. There's no training prior to doing this, and these cars are going 160 miles an hour around this track, and while I'm not a big fan of NASCAR, I never was, I have a lot of respect for those drivers. It is hard. What I did, we got 10 laps, right? It was exhausting. When I got out of the out of that car after 10 laps, I was physically exhausted. The amount of G-forces that you pull in these cars going around these turns. And when you, this was crazy. And I don't know how it is on all tracks because this was the Homestead Raceway. The Homestead Raceway, which is longer than a lot of tracks, you know, when you're on the bank, you see the cars on an angle. And all they told us was, don't go to the bottom of the track, because if you go all the way to the bottom, when you're on the bank, it immediately goes from being on a bank to flat, and you'll spin out.
Right.
And which means like crash, which, you know. And they had, you know, they got, these are real NASCARs. You get the real uniform, real helmet and everything, and you're in this thing, and it's really scary. And the first time around the track, I didn't go that fast. It took me 2 or 3 times before I got the nerve to, you know, get going. Mm-hmm. And when I got, and in fact, it's so terrifying. There was a woman, and this cost like $400 a person to do these 10 laps, okay? $400 a person. The person in front of me, right as we were ready to go, was a woman. She chickened out because it was so scary, because they took us out we're in the pit, and you see the professional drivers coming around going 160 miles an hour. And she got out of the car, and they had to push the car out of the way for me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, it was pretty scary. But when I got out of that car, I was exhausted. So anyway, driving NASCAR is so physical and athletic. I couldn't believe. Now back to this thing with their diversity thing. See, what the Democrats are doing, if you've not noticed, they're going after the all-American things, right? Bud Light, NASCAR.
They're going into territory that's typically more conservative,
heterosexual male.
Yeah, going into that. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're
all
doing.
American.
They're infiltrating.
They'll be
these
after
things.
Marlboro cigarettes next.
And, normalizing these kinds
and
of
chewing tobacco.
Well, where else are they going to go?
They're going to go after Copenhagen dip.
They're not going to preach to the choir. They want to convert people. So that's where they're going to go, where they can convert people, and they're going to do it by force.
Kathy, listen to this.
Let me tell you, you're right. If you like NASCAR, boycott that crap.
Let me tell you.
I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
Let me tell you, I read an article a week or two ago. Listen to this. This was crazy. I didn't bring this up because it's not the kind of thing we would normally talk about on the program, but it involved. I really don't like talking about all this gender stuff.
Yeah.
I really don't enjoy talking about it. I mean, obviously, when there's issues in the news, we'll talk about it. But
we're not Michael Knowles, for God's
sake.
sakes.
There was an article. It was about Dylan Mulvaney and who's the swimmer? I forgot the name of this. Leah Thomas and Dylan Mulvaney. And it was this article, and I was reading this article, and it was an article where the Riley Gaines was talking about how the swimmer was walking full frontal naked in the locker room with the girls and all this stuff, and he's a big guy, and it was really hard on her. And they said something in that article. I wish I would have saved it. I did not tweet this article, but they said that there's been a shift in pornography where there's an increase in the amount of transgendered pornography.
Gross.
So what? And
I mean, pornography is gross anyway, but that's just like beyond.
Well, Kathy,
it's like a weird fetish.
What they're doing is this is what they're doing. These activists, they're going into anything that heterosexual guys are into. NASCAR, Bud Light,
and trying to normalize
pornography. Yeah. Okay. And
infiltrate.
I don't want to be the defender of pornography, but I think putting it at this point, they're going into these things that are very strict heterosexual white guy. Yeah. And they're injecting all these weirdo liberal things.
They're forcing themselves in, and they want to convert people to think that this is the new normal. This is how things
They're
are.
normal. Yes.
And the way the young people they're
Kathy.
like primed.
Yes.
And ready for this because they've been brainwashing them since they were kids. Mm-hmm. And they figure they're going after the younger people that are into these things.
That's right.
And after a while, they'll be like, oh, well, that's just how it is. That's just normal.
Yeah.
That's all part of, and I don't mean to sound like a holy roller, but the devil's good at decepting people. That's what he does. He deceives people. And when you make something that's immoral seem okay, that's part of that deception. That's part of how he works, is tricking you. And that's what the liberals are evil, as far as I'm concerned. and they are trying to desensitize people to these things to normalize this behavior. And that's all part of how the devil works by deception, is by normalizing things that you normally would find immoral. But after a while, you get used to it. It's kind of like that therapy they call, what's that therapy where they kind of ease you into, if you're like afraid to be on a plane and they have you walk on the plane and then walk off and then they kind of ease you slowly into it. I can't remember what it's called, but that's kind of what they're trying to do, is slowly get you used to these things. So after a while, it's like, oh, that's no big deal. You know what I mean? And they slowly chip away at your moral thought, your moral being, and they change how you perceive things.
That's right. So, this attack on NASCAR that's going on, they really got to stop this.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Look at what they've done to football, right? They've liberalized that.
Yeah.
They got the guys wearing pink all the time and things like this, and rainbow flags at baseball
games. Well, I've always said
games.
It's a culture war, and we have two culture wars going on. We have two things going on. We have a Cold War going on from China. And I think the liberals and the China government is working together.
Oh, yes.
But we have the Chinese government doing a Cold War of infiltrating our society on all kinds of levels. And you have the Democrats doing the same thing. I think they're in cahoots of completely changing the structure of the country and the moral fiber and destroying it, and destroying religion and all these things. And the young people are very ready for this. They're eating this stuff up.
Yeah.
They don't go to church anymore. They're on TikTok constantly, and their minds are distracted. They can't spell. They can't write. They're stupid, most of them. And their brains are ready for the picking.
Absolutely. No.
And ready for the washing.
And that's true. And so the thing is liberals have this whole industry of diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And it's been weaponized, like the justice system. It's been weaponized. And what they are doing is changing the thought process of white heterosexual boys and young men to think all these other things. Like I was talking.
And they're also trying to give the impression that if white people are involved, then that's racist. That if you include a white person, you're discriminatory.
Like, for example, this story I talked about on the stream this morning, and I also talked about it on a stream yesterday afternoon. This little boy in Colorado, 7th grader, that his liberal teacher hauled him into the office, brought the parents in for a conference because he had the "Don't Tread on Me" flag on his backpack, which is a flag from the American Revolutionary War of our great founding fathers.
I just put a really cool picture of him in your community section. Somebody made a nice, really cool meme of him. So I put that in your community YouTube section.
So here you've got this kid. He's 12 years old. He is honoring the great founding fathers of the United States, and the teacher tells him something's so wrong with him, he cannot be in class with other students. He's dangerous because he celebrates our founding fathers, and they were involved in the slave trade.
Well, he's a white kid. He's a young white male, and to her, he's a terrorist.
That's right.
That's how she sees him.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of liberals. Meanwhile, he went and stood in front of her car, and the back is covered in liberal bumper stickers and things, and all kinds of groups she belongs to. That's on school property.
After 9/11, there was this weirdo college professor whose name I think I remember his name, but I don't want to say in case I get the name wrong. But you guys will remember. I'm talking about this was not long after 9/11. Bill O'Reilly had this guy on, and it was this liberal wackadoodle college professor who said that the people that jumped out of the World Trade Center because they were, after the attack, they were in these rooms that were on fire. He called them little Eichmanns. Remember that guy? I remember him so well. He was on, and he was, and he was defending the attackers, and we deserve this, and calling the people that died on Ground Zero little Eichmanns. And he was on Bill O'Reilly, on the O'Reilly Factor. It was a huge story back. I know it's been a long time, big story. And that guy, he got run off. Right? He got run out of the professorship and everything because what he was today, that wouldn't happen. Since after 9/11,
no, they'd agree with him.
There was this big run of patriotism and pro-Americanism that we hadn't seen since Gulf War I or maybe the bicentennial. And now what's happened since 9/11 is all these diversity programs and organizations have been weaponized and are destroying our civilization. And the story with NASCAR today is
they're
the latest.
They're reshaping the country in their image. They think that America is bad, bigoted.
Yeah.
Anything bad you could think about America, that's how liberals think. They hate America.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of leaving, which is what I'd like them to do, and go live in Europe or somewhere and go live with the socialists or Canada and be
Sounds
happy.
good to me.
There's plenty of room in Canada, by the way. Go up there. They want to reshape this country in their image. And if you don't go along with it, they're going to bully you, silence you, you're racist, call you names, cancel you. It's really such a bad time. You know, you and I watched a lot of movies from the 70s and 80s and even the 90s. And before that, we watched a lot of old movies. And we often say to each other, God, I just kind of miss the 80s and the 70s and even the 90s and how things were so different. You did not have this cancel culture, maybe on a small scale.
Still had liberals.
But it was nothing like now. I mean, nothing like what's going on now. I mean, you just can't even express a conservative opinion. They have really been successful, maybe, at least in the media, of maligning conservative Christians as a hate group. It's crazy. And I don't know why more Christians don't. I think they're afraid, don't stand up. But you're right. You said this, but we don't have a Christian leader that can, like a Billy Graham type or somebody.
Yeah.
Franklin Graham, but he doesn't want, I don't think he wants to get political too much. But there's really not a big Christian movement of people coming together and standing up to this. So right now, boycotting seems to be the only thing we can collectively do that people seem to react to and take notice of. But I don't know. I feel like NASCAR, just like Bud Light or just like Target, has been infiltrated, just like Disney has been infiltrated by these activists. And I don't know if there's any coming back from that. You know?
Yeah.
There's really, I just don't know. Because once these people get upset and get insulted, like with Bud Light, and they boycott it, that it's hard for a company to redeem itself,
well,
it seems, even if they come out and said, we're sorry. I don't know.
It's amazing.
People get pissed.
Even after what happened to Bud Light, which is a brand that is beyond recovery.
Yeah.
You see Target do crazy things. You're seeing now
they're not
NASCAR.
Stopping.
They're not. And these diversity people don't care if they destroy the company. But the company should care. They have stockholders. They have a responsibility.
I don't get it.
It's a business. If NASCAR doesn't correct this, they're in big trouble because we're in an election season. This is going to become an issue. And NASCAR fans, I don't know about the drivers, okay? I don't know. But then because a lot of pressure gets put on them, like professional athletes, they're professional athletes too. They get a lot of pressure. But the fans that support it are MAGA conservatives at NASCAR. And they don't approve of this. We'll be right back.
From author Martin A. Lee comes a book the entire family will enjoy together. Meet the Amazing Animals of Trinidad and Tobago, Twin Island Adventures children's stories, available on Amazon. Readers will enter a world filled with wonder and tropical tales. Have you ever been curious about the playful escapades of the wildlife in Trinidad and Tobago? Join an enchanting journey through lush landscapes and cascading waterfalls. Discover tales of tropical animals as they embark on exciting adventures beautifully brought to life through vibrant storytelling and illustrations. Each story is unique, filled with magic, mystery, and exhilarating energy. From the majestic hummingbird's dance to the sneaky tricks of the agouti, every page is a delightful adventure. And you teachers out there, this book is a perfect addition to your classroom reading collection. Are you ready to embark on a sun-soaked adventure? Then order your copy of Meet the Amazing Animals of Trinidad and Tobago, Twin Island Adventures Children's Stories on Amazon from author Martin A. Lee. The new book from author William Thien is now available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. The Dream Chip. In The Dream Chip, meet David O'Rourke, an intelligence agent turned uploader for the Timelink Corporation, a futuristic technology company. His mission, capture the thoughts and memories of the deceased and store them in the Will of Memories, a protected vault of supercomputers. But there's more to the Timelink Corporation than meets the eye. They're also the creator of the Common Council software program, which empowers citizens to have a say in government decisions. This revolutionary system threatens the power of a group known as the Civocrats, who are determined to maintain their control at any cost. As tensions rise, their leader organizes a mob to attack the TimeLink Corporation. The fate of the future is hanging in the balance. The Dream Chip takes you on an adventure filled with technology, political intrigue, and the power of human memory. Order your copy right now on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. The Dream Chip from author William Thien, and uncover the secrets that lie within. The 80s, MTV reigned supreme, and parachute pants were the height of fashion. If you're a diehard fan of the unforgettable 80s, then visit WeLoveThe80s.com. That's 80s, EIGHTIES. At WeLoveThe80s.com, you'll find incredible discussions like what are the 10 most iconic movies of the 80s? From E.T., Back to the Future, The Breakfast Club, to Die Hard. Is it an action film or a Christmas movie? Explore the intriguing dark side of the 80s. Take a look at the fashion that defined the decade. Neon colors, Michael Jackson's red leather jacket to Don Johnson's Miami Vice suit. And of course the music, like Physical from Olivia Newton-John, Say 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 from Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, Take On Me from Aha, and Walk Like an Egyptian from the Bangles. Are you ready to relive the magic of the 80s? Then head over to WeLoveThe80s.com. EIGHTIES. Your journey back to the 80s is awaiting you right now at WeLoveThe80s.com. Share the link on all of your social media so your friends can take a trip back in time too. WeLoveThe80s.com. A blast from the past.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
I just want to say one more thing that I said to you off the air that I want to say real quick. What's happening, and this goes to what we were just talking about, what's happening is the left, in a lot of ways, with these companies at least, have successfully convinced white people that they have to make amends for things that have happened in the past, even if we had nothing to do with it. And there's a lot of white guilt going on right now. Remember the leader of BLM said, white liberal guilt's lucrative. They have successfully convinced a lot of white people, especially women, that they are guilty of oppression, that they are holding minorities back, and they have to make amends for this. So that's why you see all of this going on with companies, with movies, these corporations and things, because they're convinced that they have to do this, that they have to make up for injustice that they're responsible for, which is a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah. Okay. Malarkey, what are you, Joe Biden?
Exactly.
Who loses malarkey other than Joe Biden?
I don't know. I'm tired. I'm really tired.
I guess so.
My brain is not
Biden
working so great.
Oh, my goodness.
Give me a break.
So Mitch McConnell, okay, he had his little episode a couple weeks back where he blanked out during a press conference. It has happened again.
Yes.
This
he needs to retire.
This is
in a nursing home.
Crazy. Mitch McConnell froze again today while answering questions from reporters in Kentucky, and another troubling on-camera appearance just weeks after he froze mid-press conference while speaking off the Senate floor. The 81-year-old Senate minority leader, this is what happened.
He's the same age as my mother.
Yeah, this is what happened today. The 81-year-old Senate minority leader didn't respond for 30 seconds when he suddenly stopped speaking in the middle of a press event in a scene eerily similar to a Capitol Hill press conference last month. McConnell appeared to register the question, chuckling at first, before an aide had to step in and repeat it for him as he addressed the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce Government Forum. He was then led away. The incident happened right after. This is crazy, and you know this is my theory on Mitch McConnell. I know that a lot of these people like DeSantis and Ramaswamy say, "Oh, our leaders are too old." It's not the age. President Trump isn't that old yet, but he's like a 50-year-old guy. Okay,
yeah, my mom's 81. She's super sharp. My dad's 85. They're like they were in their 50s.
It's not the age.
No.
It's just these are people with severe cognitive problems, whether it's McConnell or Joe Biden. And this is what I think is going on with McConnell. Come on. Don't we all assume that he's compromised by the Chinese? His wife is Elaine Chao. Her family are a very prominent, very wealthy family in China. And she's probably more than just his wife. She's probably also his handler. And in the position that he has access to all kinds of secret government information. And also, there's only 100 senators, and he's the most powerful Republican one. So he has a lot of influence on what gets passed, what doesn't get passed, what funding happens. He has so much influence over so much. And we see a similar thing with Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein is so far gone that she signed power of attorney over to her daughter.
That's 2 senators that need to retire.
Well, she's also compromised by China. Remember, she had a Chinese spy as her driver for over 20 years who had access to everything she did. So what I think is going on here, and this is a good thing in a way, China, as much influence as they have in this country, and they've got too much influence, McConnell, Biden, who all they have influence over. They don't have as much influence over our senior leaders as we thought. And I think the reason that McConnell, who's obviously having like many strokes, and Dianne Feinstein, who is just checked out completely. I mean, have you seen her lately? I just think the Chinese don't have anyone to plug in their place. And they're being forced to go through this torture of holding these positions because China cannot afford to lose their assets. And they don't have anyone that can be plugged in there to replace them. So maybe China,
don't worry, they'll find somebody.
Well, I don't know. It's been going on for a while.
There's always somebody you can bribe.
As much influence as China has, maybe they don't have quite as much as we think they have in Washington.
When are they up for re-election, these two? They won't get reelected. That's not going to happen.
Are you kidding me?
No,
don't be so sure about that.
No way. They're out of it.
Don't be so sure about that.
No, I can't imagine. You can't even campaign. That's not going to happen. Somebody else is going to come along and take that spot. Yeah. Somebody half his age. Yeah. If they're smart.
Well, you never know, but I wouldn't be so sure about that. Now, there's also a story today.
Maybe his wife could run.
Yeah.
She'd be perfect.
There's another story today about Ramaswamy. I am not amazed or impressed by Vivek Ramaswamy. I think he's bad news. We found out a few things about this guy. We found out that George Soros' brother paid for his graduate school. There was a story yesterday that close friends of Jeffrey Epstein donated over $100,000 to his campaign. I mean,
oh my goodness.
I mean, how many things do we have to hear about this guy before people say, okay, we need to not have anything to do with him? And President Trump said something nice about him, and people are all excited. President Trump says he's open to Ramaswamy being his VP pick. President Trump called him smart and full of talent, but warns he's getting a little bit controversial. Okay.
This was in the Daily Mail today.
Yeah. And it's being reported in other places too. Just because President Trump said nice things about him doesn't, and even said I'm considering him, doesn't mean he's going to be the vice president, okay?
No, I don't think he's going to be.
Ramaswamy, see, President Trump is very, very smart, of course. And what he knows about Ramaswamy is that he's very popular right now with young people. And Ramaswamy is saying nice things on television about Trump and saying all the right things about these injustices against our great President Trump. So what Donald Trump is doing, he's using Ramaswamy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just using him.
Yeah.
He's a kid. And, I'm sorry. Someone who's 38 years old has no business being president or vice president of the United States, especially someone who's a retired multi-billionaire by the age of 30-something and has the Soros connection, the Epstein connection now, and these other things. There's too many red flags about him.
There are too many. And the Epstein connection and all of these connections are kind of like secondhand. You know what I mean? It's not directly, but it's like one person removed.
It's close enough for me.
Which is close enough, exactly. There's two right there that are very strange and not good. And I think you're right. You always said Mike Pence was a snake. You were right about him, and your instincts are usually right on these things. So, because I always thought Pence was a good guy. I was way off on that. And Vivek, you're right. There's too many things coming out about him, but Yeah, don't get confused when Trump's praising him. I think there's a method to the madness there. You know, like you said, he's very popular. He's not going to beat Trump. But, you know, he might give him some kind of cabinet. He could put him in charge of something, maybe, you know, because he's popular and Trump appreciates that. He wants to give the people what they want, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
and then on my YouTube channel, I did an entire YouTube video a few days ago on a particular thing with Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Some people looked into the voter registration in Ohio. We talked about this on the podcast too a little bit. Ramaswamy in Ohio, as of this story 2 days ago, that could have changed by now, but he is a registered Republican. So it registered in non-party affiliation, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So the guy's not even a registered Republican, and he's being praised because of these Gen Z and millennial online influencers think it's cool. And I'm telling you, Ramaswamy is a very dangerous man. You've got to
like you said, he's promoting Trump and he's appealing to young people. So it doesn't benefit Trump to attack him.
No.
Because he wants those young people to be funneled through Vivek to him. And he figures he's a conduit for that. You know, he figures, well, Vivek's not going to win. But if he's promoting me, all those people that are supporting him, when he drops out, they're going to come to me.
That's right.
So that's why he's doing that. You know what I mean? Which is smart thinking. And I don't know if he thought that way when he first ran, because he attacked everybody except for Mike Huckabee. You know, but I think Trump has gone into this much wiser. And I'm not saying he's stupid, but I think he was maybe naive. And I think we all were. And too trusting. Trump seems like a very trusting guy when it comes to people. And I think he went in very naive about how things work. And I don't think he realized how nasty it was and how evil. And now I think he's just running his campaign much wiser and smarter and more calculated than ever. You know what I mean? I think he's really thinking about who he can trust, who he can talk to, and really being more thoughtful instead of just shooting from the hip. And going with his gut instinct, which is how I think he's always been. I think now he's being much more calculated and thoughtful in his decisions and in what he says. Now, somebody said there's a rally coming up next weekend. After I guess. Oh,
really? I haven't heard about a rally. Next
Trump a week from Saturday. I heard. Is that true?
I have not
start doing his rally soon.
I've not heard that, but on Wednesday is when his arraignment in Fulton County takes place. But I want to finish up with Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
See, I've told you guys in the past, before Trump, what's going on, like with Ramaswamy, this is how it used to be in primaries. People would rally behind some candidate because they thought they were cool or something. And it was like this big sporting event between the different primary candidates. And people would be, there'd be a DeSantis group and thered be a Ramaswamy guy and all this stuff. And it was like
your team.
It was like picking your team. Things are different now, okay? This country is going through a transformation of our government like it has not gone through in a long time. Yeah. We have the weaponization of the federal justice system, the weaponization of our local legal system in Fulton County. And,
what does an arraignment mean?
More.
I thought he was arraigned.
No,
so
that was
mean?
That was just like a surrender and arrest. Now he's got to go before a judge.
Oh my goodness! And then what's going to be decided then?
We're not sure. I don't know. There'll be some motions and by both sides, maybe trial date. Who knows? So with the things that are facing this country right now, there is no one other than Donald Trump who could reverse and stop any of this stuff.
I agree.
Especially these grifters and wannabes and losers that are running in the Republican primary against Donald Trump.
What do you think this is? I know you talked about this morning with this tape. I hope it's not a lot of, hyperbole. I hope there's really some, because sometimes people hype things up. I almost wish he hadn't said anything and he just announced it because it's so far off. It could be mid-October. Could be like a little bit of a letdown. That happens. You know what I mean? If you pump things up too much. So it's got to be really, really good, but it would have to be really bad for Democrats to force Joe Biden. But I don't think there's anything that can keep that guy from running again. I mean, he is just plays by his own rules. He is not going to drop out. He has a massive ego. He thinks he's just like the king of America. And I don't think, honestly, there's anything that could make him drop out of the race. Even if it was really bad, I just think he wouldn't do it.
Let me tell people what you're talking about that may have missed the show this morning.
What do you think it is?
Greg Kelly on Newsmax said that, and he's got good sources on this.
Very good sources.
That there are tapes of Biden that are so bad that it will force him to, in the very least, announce he's not running for re-election, but will likely result in him resigning from the presidency. And I don't know. It's got to be bad. It cannot be bribery because we've seen him bragging about it on C-SPAN about bribes.
I agree.
So I don't think it's that.
If it is, that's going to fall flat.
The only thing I could imagine a tape of Biden doing that would turn the Democrats and the media against him is him using the N-word, talking about like Obama or Kamala or something.
I mean, we've seen him sniffing children. We've seen him calling Obama a clean black guy. We've seen him have some very, very, very bad moments.
And the Democrats defend him.
They defend him.
They
keep defending him.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. People have become desensitized to him, or they not us, but they defend him.
So what could it possibly be? It's hard to imagine.
It would have to be really, really, really bad. And Greg Kelly, I will say this, is very astute. And I don't think he's the kind of guy that would say something that isn't true. Like, I don't think he would pump it up unless it was really bad. I think when he says it's really bad, I think it is. I mean, you know what I mean? I trust his judgment on this thing. Some people pump things up and then it comes out and it's like, oh, well, that was not that big a deal. You know, but I think it must be really bad for him to say that because he's pretty careful with his words. Greg Kelly. He really is. He's really good.
The way that I look at it, to try to figure out what could be on this tape is, I don't think it's the bribe because, like I said,
there's already been evidence of that and nothing's happened.
They have the bank account information and we've seen him bragging about it. So you got to think, well, what are the things that a person can do that the Democrats would not defend? And the only thing I could think of is using the N-word, calling someone the N-word.
They'd have to go after him for that because they have too many. They're teetering on the precipice with the black voters as it is.
Oh, that would be a big.
So if something like that happened, they would have to demand. He's already said a lot of racial things, though, and he's been okay. Corn pop and all these stupid, crazy things. He's already said a lot of racist
But he hasn't called Obama the N-word publicly. And if he's in a phone call calling him the N-word, my guess would be the tape.
That's crazy.
The tape would be from his vice presidential days. That seems to be when most of this stuff is coming, and it could be something that was found on the laptop. Hunter might have been recording or saved voicemails or things like this. Who knows? My guess would be it was while he was vice president, and like most everything else that's come out about him. And but a thing about all this stuff. All this stuff, I believe, has been leaked out by the FBI. The FBI want him out of the way. He wasn't supposed to run for re-election. He defied them. So all these things are coming out about Biden. And you talk about a private phone recording. Who would have such a recording?
You know, when he was doing all this stuff when he was vice president, I was thinking about it today. I don't think back then he ever planned on running for president. I think he thought, I got to make my money. Because after this, I'm not going to get elected. He didn't try running.
They skipped him over for Hillary.
He didn't try to run. I don't think he was planning on ever being president back then, and he figured this is my shot.
Yeah.
And it'll never come up again. And I think that's why he felt emboldened to do these things, because he figured nobody pays attention to the VP, and after this, I'll just retire. And if he'd never run for president, this might not have come to light, or nobody would even care. But now that he is the president now, it's a problem for him. But I don't think back then he thought he would be president. Do you? I don't think he would have done all that stuff if he was planning on running.
No.
Have all these different emails and aliases and taking money in different bank accounts. I honestly don't think he would have been that stupid if he was planning on running for the presidency.
Now, I want to tell everyone about the Thomas Edison of sleep, Mike Lindell and My Pillow. And I want to talk about the 6-piece My Pillow towel set because the special is so good right now, just $39.99. And they have new colors in. And Kathy, they have, let's see here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me see here. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 13 colors now. So there are multiple new colors. In fact, I see one I've never seen before. There's 2 shades of brown that I've never seen before. One's a tan, one's a more. So they have there's several new colors. Nice. They're just $39.99 for the 6-piece My Pillow towel set. I was telling you guys the other day, I had spilled an entire cup of coffee on the floor outside of our guest bathroom right before I was doing a live stream the other day on YouTube. And I grabbed the first thing I could to clean up the coffee, and it was the MyPillow towel that was hanging in the bathroom. And Kathy, it was like a Bounty paper towel commercial. I threw the MyPillow towel down on top, and this was a full, huge cup of coffee. It soaked it up right away. Yep. The floor was completely dry. It was amazing. And when I picked up the MyPillow towel, it was soaked with a full, large cup of coffee. It wasn't dripping. It had absorbed everything.
Oh, yeah, they're very absorbent.
So the liquid was, this could be like a television commercial.
Yeah.
The liquid from the coffee wasn't dripping off the towel. It was perfectly absorbed. Now, it was coffee and I had cream in it, and I used the white towel, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I've stained the towel. I washed and dried the towel. You can't even tell. It looks like the day we got it.
They're amazing. They really are the most amazing towels I've replaced all of my old ones with the MyPillow towels, because the minute you use one, and I've had people message me and call me that have gotten the towels, and they're like, oh my gosh, like the minute you use one, you just don't ever want to go back.
Yeah.
So honestly, they're that good. Same with the sheets and everything. They're that good.
Well, I think you should buy some more, Kathy.
I think I will. And they make great gifts. You can wrap them up in a nice little bow and put them under the tree, and they make fabulous gifts.
That's right. And maybe you should get a set for our daughter in California.
I might get a set for my mom, and maybe I'll send one to Emily. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And, it is a great price. And just $39.99 with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And they also have all these new colors. So go to MyPillow.com, use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, and order your 6-piece MyPillow towel set.
Are you tired of wearing the same old clothes? Are you ready to express your love for fashion and style? Look no further than StitchedClothingCo.com. StitchedClothingCo.com is your one-stop shop for the best and latest designs, so you can stand out and show your love of fashion to everyone. StitchedClothingCo.com has been on a fashion journey for some time. They know exactly what you need and what you're looking for. Everything is high quality and budget friendly, so don't worry about breaking the bank. The team at StitchedClothingCo.com is dedicated to providing excellent customer service and friendly support. Your satisfaction is their number one priority, and that's why they put your wishes first. They've got something for everyone, women, men, and kids. From trendy jewelry and accessories to elegant dresses and cocktail dresses, you'll find the perfect match. They also have jackets, shoes, tops, jeans, sweaters, hoodies, socks, and that's just the beginning. Head over to StitchedClothingCo.com to discover the latest trends in fashion. Don't miss out on their amazing deals and the best prices you will find anywhere. StitchedClothingCo.com. Express yourself with the fabulous designs today at StitchedClothingCo.com. Parents, grandparents, and teachers. There's a new children's book from author Devin McMillan that you will want to add to your child's reading list. Tommy's Dream Odyssey, Adventures of the Little Explorer, now available on Amazon. This imaginative book is filled with dinosaurs, pirates, and even outer space. From roaring dinos to daring space missions, readers will journey with Tommy through an awe-inspiring adventure that sparks wonder and fuels imagination. Let your young readers learn, discover, and embark on a voyage where courage meets curiosity. Tommy's Dream Odyssey, Adventures of the Little Explorer, from author Devin McMillan. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Parents and grandparents, are you looking for the perfect children's gift for Christmas, a birthday, or any other occasion? Then check out the great STEM toy, B-Blocks Building Blocks, available in the B-Block store on Amazon. The B-Blocks Building Blocks come in 2 sets, one with 250 pieces, the other with 500 pieces. The more you have, the more you can create. B-Blocks Building Blocks will ignite your little one's creativity. They'll discover a world of colors, shapes, and designs. They'll learn, play, and create with the 8 vibrant colors, and it's educational too. From enhancing motor skills to exploring basic geometry, as well as architecture, B-Blocks Building Blocks isn't just fun, but it's a powerful learning tool. And guess what? They click securely together. The B-Blocks Building Block set stands out. It's perfect for both boys and girls. It's a gift that they will cherish for years to come. B-Blocks Building Blocks, available in the B-Blocks store on Amazon. The perfect gift for your child for any occasion. B-Blocks Building Blocks, because every child deserves the best. Available only in the B-Blocks store on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search B-Blocks. B-E-B-L-O-X. Order yours right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And remember, you that are Patreon supporters, on the Patreon page, there's lots of exclusive content there that only Patreon supporters have access to.
Yep.
All right? So go and check that out. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the episode description. One of the perks, one of the benefits is if you are a top Patreon supporter, you get a live on-air shake. Thank you. Yeah, shake. Well, I don't know what word I was trying to say there.
An on-air handshake, however that works.
An on-air handshake, yeah. You get a live on-air shout-out thank you on each and every episode. So the names you will hear now
Thank you.
are our top Patreon supporters.
No, that wouldn't be good. Never mind.
I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, Arctic Fox, Heather, David, Richard, Melissa, and Maria in Texas. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And again, if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the episode description. Now, we had this hurricane that hit northern Florida up in the Panhandle area today. And I tell you, hurricanes, I know a lot of people are like, okay, I want to get out of Florida now because there's hurricanes. I know it seems crazy. We do not get as many hurricanes as you would think we get in Florida. The part that got hit today, the west coast of Florida gets more hurricanes than the east coast, where Mar-a-Lago is, where Kathy and I live.
It's true.
So if you move to Florida, South Florida, east coast of Florida, that's the better place to be to avoid hurricanes.
Yeah.
And, these things you're seeing on TV where some of the streets look like Venice, Italy and all that stuff, when there are bad hurricanes, there are flooding and all of that. But another thing you got to understand is the television media go to the places that have the best visuals.
Yeah.
So if they hear that there's a neighborhood where someone's going down the street on a canoe or a kayak, they're going to rush over there and show you that. It's not necessarily the entire area. Hurricanes are no laughing matter, and they're nothing that you want to mess around with. But we don't get them as often as you think in Florida. And in many ways, they're not as bad as they seem on television. There's obviously destruction and everything else, and like any other natural disaster. But I would not let hurricanes. When there are hurricanes bring with them tornadoes. When a hurricane passes over your house, you get tornadoes on your street too. I mean, it's wonderful stuff. I wouldn't let hurricanes deter you from living in Florida because we really don't get as many as you think.
But I would not, unless you're really rich and can afford to rebuild or have really good insurance, which is harder and harder to get.
Yeah.
I wouldn't live right on the ocean if you're in a hurricane zone.
An evacuation zone?
Or an evacuation zone, Zone A. Don't live in Zone A unless you're like in a condo high-rise where you're way above like 6 feet of water. I'd say you want to be above 6 feet of water because that's usually the storm surge is like 6 to 9 feet. And if you are going to build a home right on the water, like these homes in Cedar Key, which is a beautiful little island, a lot of the homes are on stilts, which is how they do it in the Keys. Your grandma used to have a house in the Keys. My dad had a house in the Keys, and they were on stilts. That's how they build them down there because of the hurricanes. And the house is like 6 feet up. You build like a base, and it literally looks like house stilts, and it's like up 6 feet above the ground. So if you do that, you want to make sure you're not in a flood zone A where you're going to get the storm surge, because that to me is the biggest damage is the water. Once your house gets flooded, there's no coming back from that. But if a few trees get knocked down or there's structural or things like that, that's easily fixed. But the flooding is, if your house is flooded, you're screwed. Basically, you have to redo everything. Gets in the walls, it gets in the floors, the carpeting. That's a mess. And if it gets up 3 or 4 feet, that's not good. Like they showed, Jim Cantori was in Cedar Key, and they showed the houses downtown, which is a very expensive property. It's an island, little tiny island. And he showed a row of houses all of the houses were up on stilts and the water had not gotten into the house. There was one house that was not on stilts and it was about 4 feet up inside the house. So that's when you run into problems. Just be smart about it, that's all.
There used to be a lot more stilt homes in Florida in certain areas.
They really need to build more along the coast.
And my grandmother had a stilt home. She lived in the Florida Keys, and she had a stilt home. Or
built it up on cement blocks or something.
Well, that's not the same. A stilt home.
Just above ground.
The first floor is like the second floor, and underneath it doubles as two things, a carport.
It can be a carport,
And some of them have, like my grandmother's house had a little apartment down there too.
Well, then you're talking like 15 feet off the ground, and some homes are like that.
Yeah, and those were very nice. But anyway, with the hurricane today, the reason I bring this up is Ron DeSantis suspended his presidential campaign, came back to be governor for a day or two, and he's very good at being governor. And he's come back to Florida. He's taken charge. He's doing everything great. He's got everybody he needs on the job. He's a very good leader and everything else, and he's a great governor.
I told you the perfect job for him. I figured it out. Director of FEMA. That's the perfect job for DeSantis. And he's very good when it comes to natural disasters. He really is. He has everything organized, and it's seamless, and everything goes well as far as it can go. And really, he does a great job with that. I think he'd be good at that. I know that's not what he wants, but I think that's his calling.
Well, I saw DeSantis at a press conference today. He's had a few press conferences because of the hurricane, and he looks different. He looks depressed, doesn't he?
Yeah, he was kind of staring off into space. I think he knows things are not going the way he
messed
planned.
up. Yeah. It's really unfortunate, and he got the Bushes whispered in his ear, got his wife all worked up about being first lady, and he screwed up his entire life, and he screwed up his entire future. And today,
I don't know what he was thinking.
Today and yesterday, when I saw Governor DeSantis here on our press conferences for the hurricane, I was like, this is the old Ron DeSantis we loved. Why did he have to screw up like this?
I know, he did screw up.
Isn't it really just, because
it's a shame.
He had the 2028 Republican MAGA nomination locked up.
He would have if he would have
had it locked up.
Kept with the MAGA thing, and but he. I'm glad though, because I wouldn't want somebody who's false.
Yes. No.
So in a way, it's a good thing, but he just really miscalculated.
Yeah.
His position. And I think what they've told him is Trump won't be on the ballots and Trump will be in jail and don't worry about it. But we had just read an article in New Hampshire. They are definitely going to let Trump on the ballot.
Yeah.
There's people are whispering now that they're going to try to keep him off. And the GOP said that is not going to happen. You know why? I said it yesterday on the show. That is career suicide. If they do not put Trump on the ballot, they will never get elected again in politics. That is how powerful and how popular Trump is, because they will get inundated with letters and emails telling them, if you do this, you are silencing my voice and you will never get my vote again. So that is not going to happen. They are not going to keep him off the ballot. The people will never stand for it. And I've said the other day, if you live in a state and they try to pull that nonsense, it's time to make some phone calls. Send letters, emails, and tell your representatives, if you allow this to happen, you're never getting my vote ever, ever, ever again.
Yeah. So
believe me, they don't want to hear that.
That's not going to play. And also today, Harrison Floyd was let out of the Fulton County Jail on $100,000 bail,
which we predicted would happen this week.
Yeah. So he is out, and I'll tell you, the only reason he is out is because people said, "Come on,
that's right,
enough of this," and.
The pressure that people put on it. It was the money he raised, which helped him get a good lawyer, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know who his lawyer is yet, but he walked out of the jailhouse today, Harrison Floyd. And for those that don't know, I'm calling them the Trump 19. It's 19 with Trump, right? The Trump 19 are the ones who are being persecuted.
Love it.
In Fulton County. Everyone got bail except the one black guy, Harrison Floyd. He just got bail today. So he spent a week in that jail.
That's crazy.
And I hope we see some interviews with him talking about the jail conditions and what kind of treatment he received.
Well, I think he can get a lot of support from the community there. And I think that's going to hurt their case against Trump, maybe with the jury. They see all this. And I think they're really underestimating the support Trump has with the black community. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
It might not be a slam dunk for these people. They might get a hung jury. I don't think they'll get an acquittal, But I think they'll get the hung jury on this because, a lot can happen between now and when the trial is. But I really see a lot of people that are really pissed off over how they treated him. Rightfully so.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, now, there's a story that's just starting to trend because it just happened with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson did an interview, a very controversial interview with Adam Carolla, and I'm not going to get into the details of what he said. You guys, well, it's all over the news, but I'm not going to get into the details of it because I don't think it's appropriate to discuss. But Tucker is talking about how the permanent Washington, that's how he calls them, the permanent Washington class, will not let Trump become president in 2024. And
he gets into that a little
bit. And, go and watch that, and I've seen it. But like I said, I'm not going to get into that area because I don't think it's appropriate to be talking that way.
Says the quiet part out loud.
Oh, my goodness. Does he ever? It's so hard for me to understand their hardcore, this Washington establishment hostility towards Trump.
I think it's personal.
It is.
Tucker even said for some reason they just don't like this guy.
It's so illogical.
Yeah, it's just personal.
A president can be as popular as a human being can be. They only have 8 years in office. And I'll give you an example.
They take it as a personal affront to them.
Let me give you an example. You know what I mean? Bill Clinton was a very popular president, although very controversial and conservative. We didn't like him, but he was very popular with Democrats. What is his legacy? What is left of his legacy and anything he did? Not much. I mean, maybe some of the smut we have is because he started that.
Yeah.
Obama's a little more recent, and his legacy is Joe Biden, unfortunately. But you go back to these presidents of yesteryear, and they do things while they're in office, but a lot of what they do gets undone by the next administration or the next administration. It just, to me, their hostility towards Trump is so out of proportion.
I agree.
To any threat to their power, because even as much swamp draining as Trump will do in his second term, and he's going to do a lot, he'll bring in a lot of new people, he's not going to complete the job.
No.
But he'll get it started. There'll be others, and we'll have great work done and everything.
The only way that would happen is if somebody came after him that was just as tough.
No one will ever be
Trump. And just as maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene, and just as aligned with him and could continue what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
He's going to be effective and get a lot of things done.
Right.
But if they would have just left him alone.
They'd be rid of him in 2 years.
If they would leave him alone now and just let everything play out, he'll have his second term. He'll have 4 years. He can't run again. And that'll be it. Obviously, he'll pick the next MAGA president and all of that. But no one is ever going to be as powerful and as independent as Donald Trump.
Plus, they've worked their base up into such a frenzy of Trump derangement syndrome that they have to see this through now. I mean, and I think it's personal. I think they just personally hate him, like Joy Reid, and they can't see the forest for the trees. And they just, for whatever personal reasons they have, they do not want him to be in the White House again.
That's right.
And I think that's more to it than any damage he could do to their corruption. Because he could fix a lot of things, but it's eventually going to slide back to maybe not this bad the way it is, but it will. I mean, that's just how Washington works.
Yeah.
It's always been corrupt at some level.
So let us know in the comments why you think specifically this permanent Washington insider class are so obsessed with Trump. What is it?
Yeah.
It don't just, and I don't want to see just their power. It's more than that.
Give us a specific what you really think it is.
It's more than that. This is so personal and so irrational.
Personal. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
It is, isn't it?
I think they all have their own personal reasons, and they've kind of just collectively are on the same page.
Yeah.
But for their own personal issues they have with him for whatever reason.
I don't get it.
He upsets their inner system somehow.
Their hostility towards Donald Trump is so out of proportion.
Plus, a lot of it is pandering to the base.
Yeah.
And they might, behind closed doors, think Trump's okay.
Maybe.
But they've gotten their base in such a frenzy, like I said about this, they have to go with it
Maybe.
now.
Well, listen, we're out of time. We'll talk to you next time.